It is not a stretch to say that the WNBA might not exist if it weren't for Lisa Leslie. She set records, won titles, had scoring feats that are almost mathematically impossible to explain. So in episode 5, we wanted to look at how one of the most unstoppable players in a generation also had to spend a ton of her time convincing the world that she should even be on the court.
Put it up on poster.
If you were watching TV in 1997, and I don't know what you like, so maybe any of the shows that debuted that year, Dharma and Greg, Ally McBeal, Arsenio, not the talk show, the sitcom that lasted for 7 episodes.
You taking surveillance photos of me while I sleep? Well, just the one.
When the commercials ran, you might have seen an ad for Discover starring Cheryl Swoops.
My biggest weakness would have to be shoes. Cashback bonus award really floats my boat.
When it's 2025 and you're watching YouTube, and I'm not your phone, so I don't know what you like. Maybe it's a tutorial on 3D printing a mouthpiece so you can hold your phone with your mouth. Your arms get tired. What might queue up next is a sponsored video by Wells Fargo starring Skylar Diggins.
Actually, I think I might check out a few more things. And with my active cash credit card from Wells Fargo, I earn unlimited 2% cash rewards on purchases.
If you watched Late Night in 1997, you might have caught Conan O'Brien giving this intro.
My next guest helped bring home the gold as a member of last summer's U.S. Olympic women's basketball team. She now plays for the New York Liberty, one of the new teams of the WNBA. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Rebecca Lobo.
A full 27 years later, you're still watching Late Night. Enjoy it before late night shows become illegal. And you see Stephen Colbert say this.
Ladies and gentlemen, my next guest tonight is a 2-time WNBA champion, 2-time MVP, and Olympic gold medalist. She's just written her first book. Please welcome to The Late Show, A'ja Wilson.
One of the very first things Conan O'Brien said to Rebecca Lobo was about her height.
Very nice to meet you.
You too.
How tall are you, man?
6'4".
You're 6'4"?
Yeah.
Colbert to A'ja Wilson, you get where this is going.
Lovely to meet you.
Nice to meet you as well.
I had my chair jacked up a little bit so I can look at you in the eye for this one.
In a lot of ways, being a famous athlete now looks pretty similar to how it did in the 90s. Sure, players in the 90s never knew the rush of posting online and having 100 accounts with 4 followers each say, actually, why don't you shut up? But most current athletes will never know the rush of getting an uproarious applause when making a guest appearance on a sitcom.
Hey, everybody, I want you to meet your new bartender here, Mr. Kevin McHale. All right.
Current athletes are on TV all the time. Some are trying to become actors, or some are like Candace Parker, Chef Candace Parker to you, appearing on Hell's Kitchen.
All right, we have a pasta tossed in uni sauce, seared sea bass, and miso beet puree.
But athletes playing themselves on sitcoms used to be a rite of passage, and with good reason. The 90s was the last golden age of sitcoms before the hostile takeover by reality TV. For the 96-97 TV season, 7 of the top 10 rated shows were sitcoms, each estimated to have reached somewhere between 13 million and almost 20 million households per week. Athletes offered those shows a chance for a 1-episode story arc, like Kareem Abdul-Jabbar teaching Full House's Uncle Jesse how to play basketball.
Let's start with the basics. This is a ball.
Athletes also offered a chance at a quick and maybe easy joke, like when soccer player Brandi Chastain appeared on the very short-lived show Listen Up.
No, Brandi, I still remember that penalty kick you made in 1999 to win the World Cup.
Oh, that was a thrill.
Yes, it certainly was. And we could relive that wonderful moment.
I am not going to take my shirt off.
Suddenly, I'm right back in high school.
On the other hand, sitcoms offered athletes a captive audience of millions, a chance to make themselves household names. Like the show Martin, which, if you don't remember, was a show where a real-life comedian named Martin played a fictional character named Martin on a show called Martin. It was a simpler time. In 1996, the show Martin, starring Martin, about Martin, featured 4 members of Team USA women's basketball team. It's an episode that gives a perfect step-by-step guide on athlete cameos in the 90s. Step 1, have a main character clearly introduce the featured athlete.
Martin, I would like to introduce to you the USA Women's Olympic Basketball Team. Yes!
It's very important that a main character goes, I'm going to greet this person completely naturally. This is how I greet all people, by saying their first name and perhaps including a little bit of their resume. Step 2, as you saw in that clip, a strong applause when the athlete enters. Not to be confused with step 3, the studio audience must cheer again when the athlete does something from their sport, no matter how basic. Step 4, make sure there is a chance for one of the athletes to deliver a punchline.
You supposed to be defending me? Or was that the famous Matador defense? Olay!
If you can squeeze in another athlete punchline, even better.
The flies are out today!
The episode of Martin also has a pretty classic sitcom storyline, especially if the athletes making a cameo were women.
Now, Gina, somebody done told you wrong. Look, there ain't no woman that can beat a man at any sport. Not any sport that I know of.
The athlete cameo was a tried and true formula that worked for years, and very few athletes lit up the IMDb scoreboard quite like Lisa Leslie.
Look, that's Lisa Leslie. She showed little girls everywhere that they can grow up to be 6'5".
She played herself in The Simpsons and in a 1996 episode of Moesha.
Hey, Lisa Leslie. Almost bought your basketball shoe till I found out it was a girl shoe. Oh, but they were still flying.
She was in 2 episodes of Sister Sister.
I would like for you to sign this article I wrote about the WNBA in my school paper.
WNBA. Cute chicks can jump.
It was a little joke. Just a little play on words, you know?
And she was in an episode of the Disney Channel's The Jersey, which features that classic plot line. The young boy has some thoughts about women's basketball.
It's girls' basketball. Nobody cares about girls' basketball. And when a guy plays, every seat in that gym is filled. That's pressure.
Is that so, Nick?
Have games in front of the Braves in the NL East.
You've got a lot to learn.
What the kid says is wild, but what's even wilder is the dad walking away like he's got a lot to learn. Yeah, he does. If only there were a male figure in his life, perhaps lurking around his home eating an apple. A young boy saying something misogynist is similar to if the family's mom went missing. Statistically, the dad is probably behind it. But hey, this was the early 2000s, so someone, or I guess something, stepped in to teach young Nick a lesson, a magical jersey. It snuck up behind him and made him switch places with Lisa Leslie.
Oh boy, just too weak.
Why is a jersey that can let someone switch places with a 4-time gold medalist reserved for people who don't like women's basketball? Like, yeah, I guess he needed to learn a lesson, but I feel like the girl in the episode who actually liked basketball and was trying to find her own confidence would have benefited a lot more from that. Or at least let me do it. If I got to live as Lisa Leslie, I'm going straight to the block and doing her turnaround. I'd never leave. I'd do turnarounds until I collapsed from exhaustion. But no. The episode teaches the girl her lesson by having her watch a game and a post-game interview on TV in the living room, while the boy shares his wisdom.
They're triple teaming her, and she's still draining them. She's so awesome.
You can play like that. Lisa, she never thinks about winning. She just plays.
Even 3 years after retiring, Lisa Leslie was making appearances in TV or movies to put an overly confident dude in his place, like playing herself in Think Like a Man starring Kevin Hart.
I got her. Let's go. Get yours. I got mine.
It's hard to convey just how everywhere Lisa Leslie was in the late 90s, early 2000s. She was on the cover of Sports Illustrated, which was no small feat. Between 1987 and 2009, one study found that Sports Illustrated had 1,441 different covers, and only 93 of them featured women. That's about 6.5%. Sports Illustrated came out every week of the year plus a few special editions. So on average, 4 covers per year had women. Between 1998 and 2009, ESPN the magazine had an even lower percentage of women on the cover, about 5.5%. But to be fair, being slightly worse than Sports Illustrated was kind of ESPN the magazine's whole thing. Leslie pulled off an even rarer feat, the trifecta of being on the cover of Sports Illustrated for Kids, and the short-lived Sports Illustrated for Women. That's only been achieved by a few legends like Leslie, Mia Hamm, Michelle Kwan, and Sports Illustrated for Women's icon Shaquille O'Neal. Leslie's 30-year reign at the intersection of sports and entertainment means she is perhaps better suited than anyone in history to settle a crossover debate once and for all. Which entertainer is actually the best basketball player?
Oh, Brian McKnight probably would be the best basketball player.
Really?
Yeah.
Is Brian McKnight good at basketball, or is it just fun to play with a musician whose biggest hit is about counting? You play him in 21, he gets a tip.
Then I start back at one.
Leslie did correct herself.
Actually, Master P's #1.
Master P's #1.
Yeah, he went to the NBA.
Lisa Leslie's everywhereness served her and her league. Unlike many WNBA players, she didn't have to go abroad to play during her off seasons, and her celebrity status helped her build a rich career after retiring. So her appearances were also always about getting the league some of the visibility it so desperately needed. Leslie has legit star power. Before the league was a sure thing, she'd already signed with a talent agency to become a model. So if someone liked Leslie on The Simpsons or Moesha, they were likely going to love her on the court.
Mr. Robinson has it swatted out of bounds by Lisa Leslie.
Leslie averaged over 2 blocks a game in her career and got up to 2.9 3 different seasons. And blocking falls short of what some of these were. Swatted, maybe, stuffed, expelled. Whatever you call them, if you look closely, you can see the shooter's spirit leave their body just a little bit when Leslie blocks their shot.
Part of the reason the Sparks lead the WNBA in blocks, Lisa Leslie just walks into a wall.
In a game against the Detroit Shock, Leslie had her first triple-double with 29 points, 15 rebounds, and 10 blocks.
And Ford gets it blocked by Leslie. 5 blocks now, 6 blocks. Make it 7.
In the early years of the WNBA, the league had TV deals with NBC, ESPN, and Lifetime. 3 different channels to catch Lisa Leslie make lots and lots of perfect post moves.
Some more. Leslie with that spin move off the baseline.
Inside pass, Leslie on the low block, works up and under, layup is good over Adrian Williams.
Lisa Leslie embodied Los Angeles basketball. She played high school in Compton, college at USC, and was the first player on the LA Sparks, the only WNBA team she ever played for. She joined the Sparks about the same time as another LA legend, Kobe Bryant, joined the Sparks' MNBA counterpart, and was often paired with him in branding for the future of LA hoops. Leslie played the fast-paced, flashy Showtime Lakers style of basketball.
Nice pass by Lisa Leslie to Delisha Milton.
As well as the tough, physical style of basketball that's played on courts across the city. It's a balance of grit and glam seen in other athletes who, like Leslie, grew up playing in Compton, like DeMar DeRozan or Venus and Serena Williams. So had someone tuned in to the WNBA after watching the Disney Channel because they thought, wow, that magic jersey moving a young boy through space and time really got me interested in the league. They might have seen Lisa Leslie spinning, throwing no-look passes, showing up to the games in high fashion, while also doing something that, in her retirement tribute video, her fellow players said they were going to miss the least.
I'll tell you what I won't miss is their elbows. I won't miss those elbows. We're playing against it.
Be glad to get rid of those elbows flying everywhere.
I won't miss going through the lane and her swinging those things.
I think even her elbows are elegant.
In Leslie's retirement video, her former teammate Penny Toller summed up how many people felt and still feel about Leslie.
What is a WNBA player? The definition should be a picture of Lisa Leslie.
If you go back to the first WNBA game ever, there she is.
It's a marquee matchup between Leslie and Lobo as the 2 cornerstone franchises of the women's NBA square off here this afternoon in the debut game.
Tyra Banks was courtside, as was Arsenio Hall, about 2 months after a sitcom was canceled. So this game had the glamorous side of LA basketball, and Leslie brought the tough side.
Back to the Liberty. Teresa Weatherspoon. Blocked by crowd here at the Forum.
Lisa Leslie won the first tip-off in WNBA history and had the first double-double. And those firsts were just the first firsts of many, because Leslie was nothing if not unrelentingly consistent for her 12 seasons in the league. When she retired in 2009, Leslie was a 3-time league MVP, a 3-time All-Star Game MVP, 12-time All-WNBA, and a 2-time Defensive Player of the Year. She retired as the all-time league leader in points and rebounds. Leslie retired from Team USA with the most points in Olympic competition by any player, man or woman, a number that was only passed in 2024 by Kevin Durant. Leslie still leads all Team USA players in rebounds at the Olympics. She was a 2-time WNBA champion and won 4 straight gold medals. Leslie was the epitome of a historically great WNBA player. It's just not clear that the league and marketers quite knew how to tell that story.
What's up, y'all? It's your boy, Big C Comedy, a.k.a. Courtney, a.k.a. the Posters Podcast favorite sneakerhead correspondent. I'm the only one. Here to talk to you about the Lisa Leslie Air Total 9s. Now, Lisa Leslie, at the time, was one of the first WNBA players with a signature shoe, and she, off the bat, was just like, I want to do something different. I want to make my signature shoe part basketball, part luxury. Now, this is pre taking your fit in the tunnel. This is pre stepping off the team plane. This is pre getting off the bus. What are they wearing? Lisa Leslie was already putting that on, and I mean fly. If you look at old pictures of Lisa Leslie and you're looking at everybody else, all of the men in the WNBA were wearing their dad's suits, triple, quadruple XL. Lisa Leslie was like, I'm tall, but I'm different, and I'm doing things different. And when she got her Air Total 9s, that's exactly what she told Nike, and Nike was like, let her cook. She said, I want a premium leather upper, and I want the Nike basketball bottom. So I want the cushion, I want the technical support, but I also want premium leather. And I want you to do the stitching so it looks like a Chanel bag, because I like my Chanel bag. Unheard of at the time. Everyone was doing fun sneakers for kids. Basketball was really big at selling shoes to kids. Lisa was like, I do like the kids, but this ain't for them. They were fire. Now, I never, ever got a pair because at the time, I wasn't for the luxury. In the 90s, I was all about flash. I wanted what was fast, what was cool, and what was cooler than luxury at the time were the Cheryl Swoops, who was the only other player to have a signature shoe with Nike. Her and Lisa Leslie were the first. Rebecca Lobo was the third, but Team Reebok. Lisa Leslie, she did get a second shoe. She got a pair of LA Sparks colored Dunks, maybe in 2022. Those Dunks were to commemorate the fact that that's 20 years after her first dunk. She got a pair of Dunks for being the first woman in the WNBA to dunk. It has her number on the side. It is LA Sparks colors. It is very fire and still very accessible. However, if you want the Air Total 9s, the original shoe, good luck. I think you're going to have to go get a DeLorean, go back in the day, get you an East Bay magazine. I'm not talking about any East Bay. I'm talking about old school paper mache East Bay. That paper was flimsy. You turn a page too fast, you're ripping the whole thing out. Your parents was like, are those the shoes you want? It's like, nah, I just happened to rip the page because I was very excited.
Hey, real quick before we get back to the episode, I want to take a second to talk about my shirt. I'm wearing this very cool Los Angeles Sparks shirt. It is from the clothing brand Homage. Homage makes a ton of retro style merch for your favorite NBA teams, WNBA teams, or whatever other sport you claim to be into. Again, I continue to hear rumblings that there are other sports, but I've yet to be convinced. I've already bought some of my holiday gifts there on Homage. I recommend you do the same thing. We're official partners of Homage, so you can follow the link in our episode description, and that'll take you to their site while also supporting our show. They have some of my favorite WNBA gear, if that is something that you're looking for, and in the process, you will help us make more episodes of Posters. So thank you.
Put it up on a poster.
There was a moment in the 1996 Olympic gold medal game between Team USA and Brazil when Jennifer Azzi brings the ball up and passes to Carla McGee at around the three-point line. McGee turns and drives, getting by one defender, while two more collapse on her as she gets closer to the hoop. She jumps into one of them and just drops the ball over the defender, where it falls right into the hands of Jennifer Azzi, who, after passing the ball, cut right down the lane into the perfect spot. It's the type of flawless team basketball that the 1996 team became known for. They could beat you in countless ways, but that layup came with about 20 seconds left in the game when it was very clear that the U.S. was about to win the gold medal.
And a very proud Brazil team fighting right down to the end, but Katrina McClain of the USA, just too much for anyone to handle here in Atlanta.
The camera cuts to the bench where Teresa Edwards is standing with her hands held above her head. Don Staley is doing a little dance. And you can see Cheryl Swoops turn back to the bench and say something along the lines of, "Come on, you gotta get up." She's talking to the last player still sitting, Lisa Leslie. Leslie stands up, taller than all the rest of her teammates, with tears filling her eyes. While the rest of Team USA had been up and cheering along with the sold-out Georgia Dome, full of fans there to see this team win, Leslie was just having a little emotional moment to herself. And it was a very short-lived quiet moment to herself, because as soon as the final horn blows, that party was on.
There's the buzzer. It's official. The United States has the best women's basketball team in the world.
That vibe couldn't have been further from what I imagine the vibe was with the same group of people over a year earlier. On May 25th, 1995, 18 players nervously waited in the rooms they'd been staying in for over a week, as someone went around knocking on their doors one at a time. They were in Colorado Springs, Colorado, on a former Air Force base that had been repurposed to become the Olympic Training Center. The 18 people holding their breath were the last players standing in the tryouts for the Team USA women's basketball team that would compete in the next year's Olympics. For 8 days, Coach Tara Vanderveer, who'd stepped away from her head coaching job at Stanford to lead Team USA, took the Olympic hopefuls through grueling two-a-day practices. The players ranged in experience from three-time Olympian Teresa Edwards to no-time Olympian Rebecca Lobo, who missed her college graduation from UConn to be at the tryout. For the first time, Team USA was putting substantial resources into developing a women's basketball team and giving them over a year to prepare. Previously, the team was selected about 6 weeks before the games, an approach that ended with a disappointing bronze medal in '92 in Barcelona. And I don't know if you heard about the other Team USA basketball team in Barcelona, but they did okay.
To Barkley, to Pippen, to Mullen, doesn't touch the floor.
Some might even call how they did a dream, a team of dreams. They are free to use that one if they want. But beyond sending pretty much the whole world into a Michael Jordan-induced frenzy,
Jordan off the spin, yes.
The '92 men's team had also shown the U.S. Olympic Committee, the NBA, investors, and sponsors how valuable a dominant showing at the Olympics could be. The idea for the women in '96 was similar. Create a super team to establish U.S. dominance. But where the men's '92 Dream Team, that's what it is, Dream Team. It was there the whole time. That team's dominance had been a way to globalize the game and make a lot of money doing it. The '96 women's team was more about seeing if there was any money at all to be made right here at home. USA Basketball published an article decades later telling how the last day of tryouts worked. Essentially, 2 members of the selection committee sat in the lobby of the building. Someone else went around knocking on players' doors saying something like, "It's your time." And then the players had to walk through a long hallway that eventually opened up to the lobby where they were told their fates. And I feel like if you're going to give people bad news, you should ask yourself, how long of a hallway am I asking them to walk down? Because when life-changing news is on the other side, hallways feel 40, 50 times longer than they actually are. Quite a few of the players were uncertain whether they'd make the team, even some of those who did. But tops among the players who everyone felt pretty certain was going to make it was Lisa Leslie. Leslie had been the 1994 Naismith College Player of the Year, playing at the University of Southern California. Over her 4 years at USC, she averaged 20 points, 10 rebounds, and almost 3 blocks.
Go to Lisa Leslie, not a bad idea. She's going to try for a three-point play at the line.
Being a Naismith winner wasn't particularly unique on the '96 team. Lobo, Cheryl Swoops, and Jennifer Azzi had all won it. Don Staley won it twice. But Leslie had 2 other distinctions, 2 things that, when her name was brought up, it was pretty much obligatory to mention. First, Leslie had once scored 101 points in a high school game, and that should be mentioned out of respect, but should also be a legal disclosure before Leslie walks onto any basketball court. No one should enter into a game with her without knowing that. Lisa Leslie scoring 100 points was a problem. It was clearly an unsolvable problem for the other team. It was also a problem in the way we post about old players online now. If we can say Bob Sura was a problem, then Lisa Leslie scoring 101 points was a problem. But it's also a problem if you want to do the math of how someone scores 101 points in a game, because Leslie scored 101 points in one half. She was on the floor for 16 minutes. There's almost no real-world way to contextualize how absurd that is. The best I can do is a fictional example. In the 1985 movie Teen Wolf, writers thought they could believably get away with Michael J. Fox turning into a werewolf. They thought they could believably get away with middle-aged men playing teenagers. But the writers of Teen Wolf only had the titular werewolf score 16 points. If someone had been like, hey, why didn't you have the player who is a mythical creature score, 30? The writers were like, in a high school game? Don't be silly. Lisa Leslie, meanwhile, very real, very human, 6 times more than that in half a game. Leslie's Morningside High School went into halftime leading South Torrance High 102-24. South Torrance had a different game plan in the second half. They did not come out of the locker room. They were done. And usually I'm a firm advocate of showing up for the second half of a basketball game. When someone asks me, hey, we played in the first half, should we play in the second half? I'm almost always going, no question. Get out there. But there's really only one thing more crushing than having a player score 101 points against you, and that's being down 80 points at the half. Leslie went 37 of 56 from the field and 27 of 35 from the free throw line, which is a lot of fouls and was part of the problem for South Torrance. South Torrance started the game with 6 players, but finished the game with 4. And I don't know how familiar you are with basketball, but that's not enough. And that was the number they were going to have to finish the game with. So really, the easiest thing for me to comprehend about this game is the part about one team not coming out for the second half. Leslie's coach said he was, quote, not very happy with the South Torrance people for taking their team off the floor. A leader in the conference said that removing a team is a, quote, serious violation of the sportsmanship code of ethics, and that they might contact South Torrance about removing the coach for the season. The LA Times would later call it one of the most controversial games in high school girls basketball history, which all feels like a wild overreaction. I think at some point, if a player is scoring 100 plus points on you, what you're doing goes from playing against them to waiting out what is happening to you. You're not playing defense. You're responding as if that player is a tornado. Get to a safe spot, fall to the ground, and cover your head. It has to end at some point. A lot of the frustration came from the fact that Leslie was only 4 points away from tying the national record for points in a game, which was 105 set by Cheryl Miller, another California high school legend who went on to play at USC. Leslie told the LA Times after the game, quote, I was kind of heartbroken that I didn't break the record. I asked the South Torrance coach before they left the court if they would let me score 3 more baskets, and then he asked his team and they said no. I can't blame you for asking. Ask for the things you want in life, but being disappointed because you only scored 101 points is probably the least relatable thing I've ever heard in my life. Lisa Leslie was born and raised in Compton, California by her mother, Christine, who ran her own trucking company and spent many nights out on the road, something Leslie talked about on LeBron James's show, The Shop.
And when it kind of got where, lights, water, you have to pick which one you want to kind of keep on, or the pork and beans, and you start to realize you don't have
talking our talk now.
You got bread, but you don't really, those types of things. But I think when you're a kid, I still didn't feel like we was just struggling. It just was the life that we had. We had a lot of love in our family.
Leslie wasn't even into basketball when she was young, as she mentioned on Don Staley's podcast.
So here I am, 6 foot, 6th grade, don't play no ball. And everybody keeps asking me, do I play basketball? And I'm like, no.
Leslie said she was finally convinced to play and might have left her whole explanation at that. But Don Staley, thank God, pointed out, well, something had to happen between then and now, right?
and then you go on to score 101 points, right? Like you go from not really wanting to play the sport to being a gunner.
Leslie clarifies one of the best ways to go from not wanting to play to being a gunner: tough love.
My cousin Craig, who's my only boy cousin, took me to the gym every day for a year. And I went in there like, oh, I played basketball. Like last year I was 7-0. And he's like, let me see what you got. And of course I started shooting. And he's like, hold up. Get on the wall, get in the squat. You know what I mean? I'm like, dude, I just came to play with the ball. And he was like, no, this is what you got to decide like right now today. So he like turned into a straight drill sergeant. He like, if you're going to play the game the right way.
A lot of us young basketball players in the 90s were begging our parents to buy us strength shoes from the East Bay catalog. The shoes that made you walk up on your toes and promised to make you jump higher. Little did we know, the actual secret to success, the Cousin Craig workout program. The other thing that everyone knew about Leslie at the Olympic tryouts that had to be muttered whenever her name came up was she could dunk. She would later become the first player in WNBA history to dunk in a game.
What's she gonna do? She dunked it! For the first time in WNBA history, someone has dunked!
Back in 1991, when Leslie was still at USC, she was playing at the World University Games. Fans would gather around the warm-ups and wait with bated breath every time she went through the layup line. But Leslie stuck to the name of the line and only did layups. SI reported her coach had to say, quote, well, Lisa, go ahead and do it. If people were curious about her in warm-ups, they were thrilled when she got out on a fast break in a real game. For the entirety of her career, she'd get a head start and tension would immediately build. Just everyone going, I think it's about to happen. Shh, I think it's about to happen.
Lisa Leslie, will she? She lays it up. I was hoping, though, because I know she can dunk it.
She sure can. We saw her do that in practice.
Oh, you heard fans call for the dunk, but she'll take the finger roll.
And sometimes it was as if her coach was whispering in her ear, well, Lisa, go ahead and do it.
Lisa Leslie with the throwdown.
Go ahead with your bad self, Lisa Leslie. We see you.
So yeah, the legend that scored 101 points in a game and could dunk and was 6'5" and just like Cousin Craig taught her, played the game the right way with passing, defense, and footwork. Yeah, she was a logical top choice for the 1996 Olympic team. The 11 players who walked away from Colorado Springs as proud members of Team USA were expected to do nothing else for a full year but go on an exhibition tour to play at colleges and abroad to prep for the Olympics. It was a great opportunity, but an incredible commitment that required a ton of sacrifice. For Nikki McCrae, it meant being away from her brand new fiance. For Teresa Edwards, it meant giving up her almost $300,000 contract abroad for the Team USA stipend of $50,000 for a year. For Leslie, it meant putting off whatever basketball or modeling careers awaited. And to make matters worse for Leslie, it was reported in the book Venus to the Hoop that during national team trials, she fell down a flight of stairs because she was walking while reading. I do think we should verify if that's something Leslie did or just a retelling of a scene from a Sandra Bullock rom-com. So not every part of the setup was perfect, but the team was.
The women went unbeaten in their tour. They're predicted to win gold here.
In July 1996, Leslie and the team walked out on the field of the Centennial Olympic Stadium in Atlanta in front of over 86,000 people for the game's opening ceremonies, having gone 52-0 since their time in Colorado Springs. Lisa Leslie led Team USA in scoring in Atlanta, averaging almost 20 points a game. She set a team women's single-game record by scoring 35 in the semifinals. The LA Times reported on that scoring record, but before actually mentioning her Olympic performance, the news they're reporting on, they led the article talking about the time she scored 101 points, because you gotta do it. It's the law. In the gold medal game against Brazil, the game that ended with Cheryl Swoops pulling an emotional Lisa Leslie to her feet, Leslie scored 29 points and grabbed 6 boards. Rewatching the medal ceremony now is more moving than I remembered. Maybe because I know so much more context now, or maybe because at the time I was 10 and my brain was still broken from Michael Johnson wearing gold shoes to win gold medals.
Michael Johnson running for the line into Olympic history. A new world record.
How did he come up with that? Leslie was even more moved on the podium than she was on the bench at the end of the game. I'm sure some of that was exhaustion, being at the end of over a years-long process where she traveled over 100,000 miles with people who would become her lifelong friends.
What cities have we been in?
Oh my God. We've been to Springfield, Missouri. We've been to Colorado. We've been to Cincinnati.
I'm sure there was lots of pride and joy. Just like scoring 100+ points in a game or dunking, being an Olympic gold medalist is something that must be mentioned when people say your name forevermore. But I'm sure some of it was relief. Leslie and her teammates understood more than anyone how high the stakes had been for them to end up on the top of that podium. Not on the podium, at the top of it, with their anthem playing. Because the weight of the gold medal around their necks was also the weight of the possibility of their own future professional opportunities in the U.S. It was the weight of the dreams of generations of future women wanting to make a living playing basketball. Some of those future stars are on the record saying they were at home watching, like Sue Bird or Candace Parker, who told Sports Illustrated 20 years later that she remembered laying on her couch, watching and thinking, wow, I really want to be like that.
Poster, yeah.
What's up, y'all? I'm Eric Parrie. I'm the executive producer of Posters. I edit some of the footage and the scripts, but mostly I do what you do, which is enjoy the hell out of the amazing research and storytelling from our wonderful host, James Hamilton. If you're watching this now in December of 2025, you're one of our first 10,000 followers. And I just want to say sincerely, alongside James, thanks. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We love getting to make this for you. And you should also know you are part of a growing group. Just in the last week, we've racked up millions of views and thousands of followers. You're watching this alongside such folks as Matt Barnes, Sean Marion, James's mom. You're an excellent company. So yeah, we can't wait to make more for you. If you want to support us, of course, buy stuff from Homage and share the show with friends and family you think might like it. For now, enjoy the rest of this one on the legend, and maybe should be the logo, Lisa Leslie.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Before the WNBA launched in 1997, the league anointed 3 superstars, Leslie, Swoops, and Lobo, and then had them do endless ad campaigns. But the league didn't have teams yet. The draft hadn't occurred, so the faces of the league were just sporting generic WNBA gear like Rob Lowe at a football game. I hope everybody wins and has a good time. Leading up to its inaugural season, the league ran a We Got Next advertising campaign. It had a commercial where the big 3 walk through a hallway. Why are we always making these people walk through hallways? Enough with the hallways. Just let them be somewhere. The players are silent as the camera cuts between their faces and their names embroidered on WNBA branded duffels. Cheryl Swoops with a look in her eyes that only the true greats seem to have. A look that says, I'm not just going to beat you, I'm going to ruin your life. Rebecca Lobo wearing a backwards newsboy cap. The forward-facing newsboy cap, of course, famously cool for the entirety of the first half of the century, and the backwards-facing option cool for 3 years at the end of it. It's a look that, at any given time, someone on the internet is actively trying to bring back.
Looks like a beret from the front, but from the back, it has like a little more spice.
Whenever I put on this Kangol hat, immediate slave.
Then there's Lisa Leslie, out in front, walking in a way that only someone who has walked professionally can do. Seeing someone who has worked as a model is the only time where I go, I don't think I know how to walk. I guess I get places, but it looks like I'm doing this wrong. Companies did seem to understand there was amazing marketing potential in the WNBA, specifically in the baller turned model turned professional baller turned actor turned 3-time MVP, Lisa Leslie. But they weren't quite sure how to realize that potential. In the early days of the WNBA, you can watch marketers struggle in real time with how to message the league and its stars. Like when Leslie Swoops and Dawn Staley did a spot for Nike, a Spike Lee directed, Spike Lee voiced commercial, a distinction that was only reserved for the highest of Nike's marketing priorities. But the commercial takes a strange turn.
And this isn't a fairy tale, so they didn't beat every guy, but they beat enough to say, basketball is basketball, athletes are athletes.
Each of those 3 players would have their own signature shoes with Nike, and I'm glad women started to get sponsorship deals like that, especially playing in a league that is still known for underpaying players. But who is that commercial for? I've never seen another commercial with elite athletes that goes, well, they didn't win that much, but no one can argue that they weren't playing the game. Advertisers and marketers could sense all the money to be made with the WNBA, but they just couldn't figure out how to tell you about it. Like a 1998 commercial for Sears that really has some pretty awesome parts, like opening on a great jump ball shot from above, starring, of course, Lisa Leslie.
There is magic in a ball.
The commercial continues, showing a really exciting, tough, skilled version of basketball, but again, it just veers off.
There is magic in a ball. Its very shape invites us to touch it, and yet it doesn't care who touches it.
Sorry, are balls in other sports being choosy about who touches them?
It doesn't care who touches it, dribbles it, passes it, or fights for it. Never has, never will.
Yeah, it never has and never will because it's a ball. It doesn't have preferences. It can't be conditioned by the society it exists within. Maybe there were a few people out there that were like, I can't get into the WNBA until I know the ball's okay with it. But if you're trying to tell people not to discriminate against the WNBA, just say that. Many of these commercials were a lot like the sitcoms of the time in that they tried to take on misogyny and skepticism about the WNBA and the vast overlap between those two things. If not head on, then at least kinda. Like the Bud Light commercial in 1998 featuring the prior season's MVP, Cynthia Cooper, commenting on two dudes playing basketball in the park.
Yo, y'all play like girls. What?
They're mad, but once they see who said that, their tones change.
What? Oh, thank you.
Whoever pitched that ad really went, we're going to make a commercial where people play basketball, and good news, we have the MVP of the WNBA. And someone else went, oh, it'll be fun to watch her play. And the first person went, actually, I was thinking, what if we let two strange random men who are not pro athletes play and she just kind of hangs out? Sports make for the purest type of storytelling. It's why even the worst sports documentaries are pretty good, and why every 4 years we watch the Olympics and get really into sports we otherwise know nothing about. A good story is essentially someone wants something, they meet an obstacle, and we stick around to see if they overcome. And sports is exactly that. Someone wants to win. They meet an obstacle, often the other team, or maybe an injury, and we tune in to see if they overcome. But that gets more complicated with women's basketball in the U.S. back in the 90s and still in large part today. The story of each athlete is almost fully wrapped up with the story of their sport. Everything they do on and off the court is seen through the lens of women's basketball wants something to prevail. It's met an obstacle, society, or maybe a bigoted ball. Let's watch and see if Lisa Leslie or Cynthia Cooper or Asia Wilson overcomes that. So the stories of individuals can easily get somewhat lost. WNBA fans know Lisa Leslie as someone who wanted to win. She met a ton of obstacles, including a Houston Comets dynasty in the first 4 years of the league. We stuck around to see Leslie become a champion twice. But people outside WNBA fan circles know Lisa Leslie more as someone who did a ton for the women's game, a character in the story of women's basketball in the U.S. In 2000, Team USA was back in the gold medal game, this time in Sydney, against the hometown Australian team. Team USA's second basket of the game was a sight that, by the year 2000, most of the world was very used to and was quite scared of. A Lisa Leslie turnaround on the block.
Go to Leslie, who's backing down on back of it, goes to the fall-away jump shot and finds the range.
Leslie was her steady self for that game, scoring 15 points with 9 rebounds. While a young Australian, 19-year-old Lauren Jackson also had a good game. 20 points, 15 rebounds, and 4 blocks. But the U.S. was on its way to winning by 22 points, which meant Jackson was on her way to losing. And Jackson's 20 points were impressive, but she'd only made 6 of her 17 shots, in large part because she was guarded by Leslie, one of the best defenders in the world. Towards the end of the game, a seemingly frustrated Jackson can be seen pulling out Lisa Leslie's hair extensions, which is every bit as mean and weird and problematic as it sounds. If you're losing to Lisa Leslie, just don't come out for the second half like everybody else. Jackson said it was an accident. Leslie said simply, quote, "No, it wasn't." And it sure looks like a pretty precise movement for an accident. Leslie also said, quote, "I told her she could have the hair, I'll take the gold." A response that's cold-blooded in the fun way, while what Jackson did was cold-blooded in the not fun way. The next year, Jackson was drafted by the Seattle Storm with the first overall pick in the WNBA draft, and when Jackson and Leslie played for the first time in the league, people were watching. When asked if there was a rivalry, Leslie said, quote, "It doesn't exist in my mind." Another incredible response, like seeing someone who's been rude or mean to you and going, "Remind me of your name real quick." In Jackson's first WNBA game against her, Leslie had 22 points, 11 rebounds, which is pretty standard Lisa Leslie stuff. But Leslie also went 4 for 4 on three-pointers, and it's the 100% from three that makes me go, Lisa Leslie did not like you. Lauren, you brought this on yourself. Leslie even said, quote, "I let my game speak for itself." Staying restrained and classy is part of the role that Leslie and the other visible stars in the WNBA often had to play, while the league and its sponsors attempted to position them in ways that might appeal to the casual viewer. I'm assuming at its best, the league's approach resulted in some people changing their opinion on the WNBA, like that boy in the show The Jersey. But instead of a magic jersey, it's a good Spike Lee voiceover. But at its worst, the league's approach required players to portray themselves or very often hide parts of themselves in specific regimented ways. Like the players who spent all or part of their time in the league closeted.
It was basically told to me that the only way I was going to have success from a marketing standpoint is to really sell this like straight girl next door.
Or like the new players who had to take the makeup class the WNBA started requiring in 2008. A class the league made optional in 2013, but still offered until 2016. Leslie often fit into the way the league wanted players to portray themselves. Highly feminine off the court, no matter how many elbows she threw on it. She even said numerous times that she thought players portraying themselves in more traditional and more widely accepted roles was important for the league. But in 2016, she wrote an article for the Players Tribune where she reflected more on that, saying, "When you're a female athlete, there are struggles. You need to be pretty so people care, but you don't want to be too pretty or people are going to question your game. You need to be passionate and driven to win, but not too emotional. You need to be true to yourself, but not too true for fear of losing out on a sponsorship or potentially isolating certain demographics. You have to be strong and fit, but not too strong because a muscular woman isn't considered commercially attractive. You almost have to be perfect." What we know is that those challenges, having to strike that balance, still exists to varying degrees, because being a famous athlete now isn't all that different from being one in the 90s. I think this is why my favorite WNBA-related commercials from the time that Lisa Leslie was in the WNBA were the Little Rascals ones, where 3 young girls would approach WNBA stars and share their feedback. Like when they approached Cynthia Cooper, who's sitting at a diner with Tina Thompson.
Yeah, hi, what's
Why'd
your
you
name?
pull up 4-3 on the break last night?
Well, I was open.
Tina was open on the block.
Yeah, but...
You know she's money down there.
Or when they run into Lisa Leslie in the mall.
New York is gonna shut you down. Unless.
New York's gonna what?
I said unless. Here, try these tomorrow night.
What's this?
It's what's gonna get you over the hump against New York.
What?
Use those in the second half. Catch him off guard.
I'll show these to Coach.
These commercials are funny and nostalgic and have better acting than many of the sitcoms of the time. But these commercials also aren't appealing to skeptics or haters. It's a little girl who loves basketball and knows her shit, talking about the game with the best players in the world. These commercials are clear about who they are for. People who love basketball. Not the people who need to be convinced to tune into the WNBA or be convinced that, hey, the ball's okay with this. The ones who knew the greatness Lisa Leslie was capable of and showed up to the games going, well, Lisa, go ahead and do it.